Welcome. Tonight's program will dive deep into fringe knowledge of lost, hidden, and suppressed truths about the nature of our reality. The decoding process can be uncomfortable and at times frightening. However, you are not alone on this journey of understanding. Welcome to the Shadow Band Podcast.
Stop.
I saw it.
Everybody, welcome our special guest. You know him from the chat. The Moore
76 has entered the building.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. And also thanks for always being in the chats, man. You know, it's hard to get people to watch live streams for some reason these days, it seems like. And you know, you're pretty much always in there, and you're always in there on Infinite Rabbit Hole show, which is pretty sick. So, cheers to you,
try
brother.
To keep an eye out for you, no matter where you go. Yeah, is that the only other show you're doing? Or you guys? You got some
yeah, it's. Well, I do this one. Me and Creamer do this one. I'm just a co-host on Infinite Rabbit Hole. That's really Jeremy's gig. And
there goes my last name.
It is, and sorry, it's a habit. I don't know. It's just
Everybody knows.
Anyway, I do like a metal show every so often with a couple other podcast homies. We just talk about metal because metal's awesome.
Nice, man. Were you in a band at some point? What's the metal background?
Was he in a band?
Yeah, been in bands. Now I'm just, I'm in my mid-30s, man. So I don't have time, money, or energy to be in a band anymore. So I just write music by myself in the living room.
Let me guess. You were bass player.
I have been.
Okay. Lead singer. You do.
No.
You got some pipes on you?
No.
This guy plays a mean electric triangle.
Okay. We're gonna have to get that on a show sometime. Just see him.
He plays the vape kazoo, all kinds of cool stuff, dude.
Yeah, the vape kazoo, the washboard.
Yeah.
Nice. You hit up those spoons yet? You seen that one? The spoon lady?
I always wanted to learn how to play. If you've ever seen videos of dudes playing spoons like really well, it's actually super impressive.
It is. It's freaking nuts. It's like the whole rhythm beat, like the whole song is spoons.
Super impressive. No, but actually, Chucky here. Chucky's a fucking banger musician too, man. This dude writes awesome shit too.
Random stuff.
There is something massive missing from this podcast, and I have to point this out, bro. The stash is gone. What happened to the stash?
New year, new stash, dude. New year, new stash. It will come back.
I knew something was wrong, man.
Someone's off, right?
Yeah. Look at this. Yeah, new stash. It's going to regrow. I'm going to get the regrowth in. I've been noticing like hair's coming in white, then color. I don't even know how that's possible. Probably dying. So I'm gonna bring in some new growth.
All right.
So listen, guys, I don't know how I started on this. Okay. And I legitimately don't know how I started on this. I may have just blind Googled directed energy weapons, right? And I'm really struggling to remember if something triggered this or not. Because this was maybe 30 minutes ago. I just was like, hey, what about this? It just popped into my head. And let me get a quick share going real quick. Because I think this is interesting. Because this was a big conspiracy for a long time. Was it not?
Wait, hold on. I know we're about to, you're getting into.
I'm about to jump into it. But directed energy weapons was a conspiracy for a long time.
Which is random, by the way. I just want to say this out loud for the internet. I had no idea we're talking about this, right? right before the Moore joined, I was like, Creamer, what are we talking about this? And he was like, I pulled up Mountain Dew, and I was like, okay.
DEW, baby. All right, let
So
me go ahead.
first time I heard the term direct energy weapons was from Dr. Judy Wood regarding 9/11. It was the first time I heard that term, direct energy weapons. So I don't know if there's a reference before that or not. Maybe there was, but that was some 22 years ago now. So yes, it has been around a while as far as I know.
Yeah, yeah. Now, my dad used to work for some government contractors as a recruiter, and every once in a while, I would peek at some of the, what are you hiring for? And it'd be like half of the job requirements are like blacked out, all kinds of stuff. But when I had asked him about directed energy weapons, he said, yeah, duh, we had, of course. That's no conspiracy theory. That crap is real. And I remember early on in the podcast, we just went on to like Northrop Grumman or something like that. And they had a whole demonstration about directed energy weapons shot from like the backs of UAVs and such. Bro, K Turts, listen, we put out an update. It's Mondays. Okay, get with the program. Anyway, listen, let me share something with you real quick. I was looking at some stuff. Can we see this?
Yeah, we see it.
This is the AFRL, Air Force Research Laboratory. This is out of, I believe, New Mexico. Yes, New Mexico's. Here's the director, Air Force Research Laboratory, Directed Energy Directorate. There's no conspiracy, okay? Just want everybody to know. This is real. It ain't a joke. Now, there is a video. I'm not going to play it, but there's a video down here. If you want to check out this website, afrl.af.mil/rd/. Okay, couldn't be more alien technology than this. They even have it in the web link. So there's a video. It's talking about directed energy weapons and laser application and beams, but then it shows this little drone and it's flying over a city and using directed microwave energy to black out the city. Drone blacking out the city. Then, while I was perusing on here, I came across, can't remember what I clicked on. Can we see this one or no? Different page? Are we looking at the same page? Do I have to reshare this?
I see.
Is it a military guy?
No, same page.
Same page. Okay, hold on. Let me go back.
Same page.
Let me go back. Let me share this other page because this also, I said, huh? Because it's related. Oh, can I not share this page, dude? Oh, I can. Here it is. This is Project Boar. Actively, blah, blah, blah. Enterprise, bunch of stuff. Basically, this is a project to man tons, multiples, and this they call them UA or UXVs now, because they're not all aircraft. They're UXVs because now they're trying to unman fleets of things from one location. It's not now some guy on some joysticks ripping a little quadcopter into a wedding. This is now one base that's got a whole fleet of all sorts of unmanned vehicles, not aircraft anymore. Now vehicles, multiple unmanned
Ender Game
vehicles
shit, bro.
of all kinds, encompassing land, air, sea, and undersea from a centralized command post. Now, last little bit on this. This was interesting. The initial bore capability demonstrated at the AF Marathon. I don't know what the AF Air Force Marathon, perhaps, is being considered fundamentally blah, 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 something. Where was it? Oh, it was before this. While supporting 4 real-world taskings, including the identification of an unknown UAS flying along the marathon route. Now, while I was trying to figure out what the heck this was, I came across another link. Hold on. Gotta stop for a second. Then I gotta bring it back. This was really weird. I couldn't get into all of the details. But while I was looking for this, I found this thing. This is the results for fiscal year 2014. This is not the same year. This is before this. Research and development. Project, small dark aircraft. Basically, from what I was reading, is there was something flying around the U.S.-Canada border, and system detected tracked class low-flying, low-observable aircraft performed throughout the 9 months of testing with no downtime, including during the winter. Whatever. Anyway, they're, I don't know, man. Now I'm looking into some budgets, trying to figure out how long have they been finding all of these little devices flying around. That's 2014, dude.
I'm cooking right now, okay? But I want to know what the more has to say about this, because, dude, you're always in the chat, and like we'll be talking about something, right? I noticed this about you in the chat. We'll be talking about this, for instance, and you'll come out of left field with some other shit. You'll be like, federal banking reserve out of nowhere, right? Like, what are you cooking when he's saying this right now?
Yeah, so okay, definitely thinking from square one, this terminology, right? Directed energy weapons. That was the first issue I had. Was so one of the first things they show you on that page was lasers. I was like, oh, this is cool. But it reminded me of Reagan and the Star Wars program, because that's essentially how they were putting it into what happened on 9/11, right? These directed energy weapons. But as far as distractions go, like the tech the military is creating, it's just the best of the best. They got unlimited funding, right? And you hear about all these black budget projects, you hear about NASA, you hear about this stuff, but where is it going? And we don't see that technology until we start reading about it. We go like, well, holy shit, man, what is this all about? Like,
yeah, so you're kind of alluding to like the, I don't know, call it like before 9/11, what was it, like 2.2 trillion that the Pentagon couldn't account for?
Yeah, and after that, they lost what, 7 point something trillion? Like,
Yeah, I think
the number just kept going after that.
Yeah, now we're at like 35 or some fucking ridiculous. I don't even know what number now, but
I remember what it was that triggered me to take a look at this. Somebody in a comment, I don't know, I was pulling up old episodes and making sure that we didn't miss any, and someone dropped a comment. Please investigate Kirtland Air Force Base and their terroristic use of directed energy weapons on defenseless American citizens. That's where I jumped in, because I was looking at Kirtland Air Force Base.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because the idea of these directed energy weapons, what does directed energy mean? Like, technically, every weapon is a directed energy weapon. You point, aim, shoot, right? Like how everything has energy. It's a weapon. It's direct. Like the language is so vague that we don't get, what is it? Like, is it one thing? And the laundry list that you're going through, I just think about all the fear campaign when it comes to drones right now, right? The Ukraine war is just littered with activity of drones, Russia, whatever, drones, New Jersey, drones. And you start to understand that there is a foundational fear that's real. Like, I understand people are afraid that dumb people are going to do dumb shit, or military is going to weaponize this stuff. Like, that makes sense. I get it. I get why people are afraid, but I don't know. Like, do they have some Iron Man shit?
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. This would, like, because, and the military does this. I was watching a podcast with that Batista guy, and he was talking about like the mythos around like the CIA and some of these other agencies where they just let it live. If people are putting a bunch of mythos around the agency or around a couple of individuals, they let that stuff sit, because it allows them to operate more in the shadows. It creates shadows. Like, ooh, did they do this? Is this all military stuff? Is it, and then all of a sudden now there's like fear, there's uncertainty. They can start doing, like, private companies can start operating, or like privatized companies can start operating. And it's, meanwhile, everybody's looking at the CIA or some other agency, the Air Force, but meanwhile, it's, Lockheed Martin or something like Raytheon, and they can kind of operate in the shadows more. And like this stuff, I had no idea. When, like you were saying, directed energy, you think lasers. Now they're talking directed microwave energy, where you can just fly a drone over a city and just wipe the power out.
See, okay, I want to speak to the psyop about this, man, because the more you're right about the fear campaign psyop thing, and I don't really have any one of these conspiracy people that I follow die hard and like everything they say is right. I question all these people. But like if there's something that I take from like David Icke, for instance, it's this idea that the parasites are literally feeding on the anxiety, the fear, the paranoia, all of that. That's literally the food that the parasites eat. Okay. So it's like they have a vested interest in just making us think about this stuff. Right. And it's like we're always guilty of it because we have a podcast that's like kind of dark and negative and like we're complaining on the internet, but it is what it is. But you know what I mean? It's this psyop, I feel like, and all these big podcasts have been talking about direct energy weapons. Sean Ryan, Joe Rogan, like all these people have had like people on that talk about like this technology and these kinds of things. And it does make you wonder, like, I'm torn because half of me wonders like, yeah, what kind of crazy Iron Man shit do they really have and are they capable of? And then the other half of me is like, these idiots can't even build a freaking road in less than 10 years. You know what I mean? They can't even manage a budget, and they have access to the printing machine and they still can't figure it out. It's like they're dummies, bro. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah, and then the other thing that comes to mind is them faking a lot of this, like the nukes, right? Like if you're faking your best weapon in your arsenal, why, oh yeah, like the president of the United States carries around the football. He presses a button, it's a nuclear holocaust. The whole world ends. Like how much more fear can you have than that? Even with all these directed energy weapon, drone stuff, dude, the president's carrying a briefcase that can basically eliminate the known world. So, how much of it do you really want to believe? Like, how far do you really want to go with these ideas? And radiation is one of those trigger words. Like, if we're going to talk about using microwave is considered a form of radiation too. So what does this word radiation mean? Like, the idea that they could just be dropping mini nukes, right? We've heard about these EMTs, right? Or EMPs, electromagnetic pulses that they can wipe out a whole city. Like, these things are almost of legend, but do they really exist? Is that really the way it works? Are they really splitting atoms? You think they're doing that? How far do you really want to like believe these people about anything they say? So even all these programs we're reading right from them, they're showing me a laser pointed at the stars at the top of a Air Force website. Like, what is the Air Force looking at the stars for? Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Bro.
Yeah, that's a good point, man, because there is so much fake stuff, and I'm hesitant to like call out any particular events as like all and out fake, like they just use crisis actors, and the only reason I'm hesitant is just because like some of the platforms that we're live on like will probably nuke us for that, so I just don't directly point at them. But we all know which ones I'm talking about, right? Like there's a good dozen of them that I can think of off the top of my head where it's like there was definitely crisis actors, there was the event that they tell you did not happen, or at least like 80% of the information they tell you is just complete bullshit, right? Then you have the whole other aspect, the stuff that we always talk about, the first layer psyop stuff, where the feds just infiltrate stuff and just cause havoc, right? And blame it on whoever they want. But yeah, everything is so fake, man. Like, I don't believe nukes are real. I said it 1,000 times on this show. I don't think nukes are real. I think there's big ass bombs, of course, but like the thing that we think of as like a nuclear bomb, I don't think it exists. I think it's just a psyop that they created to keep everybody in check.
I mean, then, so, I mean, is it keeping everyone in check? someone's got to know we don't like it's not real. So then like who's keeping like if we're saying that nukes are not if we're saying nukes are real and they're not, like the people that we brought over to work on the program were defectors from Germany and Russia. Like they got to get that information back to Germany and Russia and be like, we didn't make anything. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's assuming that the world order isn't in place already. That
That's
these
true.
people aren't working together already. Like it seems even as far back as World War II, there was already a new world order, right? They were just hashing it out, so to speak. Like the plans to communicate like on all levels has been there a while. A lot of people say the moon landings were fake, but oh, they had to because of the space race with Russia, right? Like Russia's over there getting their money for this shit too. Like that was the largest tax fund program ever. Like
And we all
billions
hang
of
out.
dollars.
Everybody's cool on the space station. Everybody's cool in Antarctica, right? There's no wars going on any of those places, which is always very odd to me. Like, oh yeah, we're about to have nuclear war with Russia. Like, are we though? Because Vladimir and Frank are up there chilling right now.
That is true, dude.
Up there chilling right now. I mean, space is fake and gay, but
I laugh so hard. You guys see the India moon landing footage where they
Dude.
Yeah, dude. It's like they found water on Mars, and it's like they found their satellite in the ocean.
dude, everybody forgets too that I don't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was like North Korea or China or somebody did something ridiculous. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. They said that they landed on the far side of the sun.
Oh, yeah, that was recent. Somebody
Yeah.
landed on the sun recently. I forget who that was. I just heard someone say it, and I was like, oh, geez.
Landed on the sun?
How far
Like
we gonna go?
landed on the sun.
I saw something about
Swear
us
to
getting
God,
like
dude.
as close as we've ever gotten to it, but not landed on it.
I swear to God, that's what the articles were saying, bro. I was like, no.
Isn't it like 100 million billion degrees or something like that?
No, the thing is, man, is because so much shit is fake that I think that these lizard people, they just put stuff in our face that's just absolutely ridiculous. We know it's ridiculous, and they just like society keeps churning. And it's like their way of just laughing at us, right? It's like, oh, bro, we told you we were taking the towers down, bro. Like, we told you guys this was going to happen and we were going to blame it on Osama bin Laden. This was out. People were talking about this, but it happens and the machine just keeps churning. Ha ha.
So one thing I will say about the DEW topic, I think it's really important for us skeptical people to step into this because we usually see through the bullshit and what's real, and we're able to finger that a little bit better. And because of that, I remember things like when they started developing sound weapons, and they started putting these things on the back of military vehicles, and then you saw them show up on cop cars. It took public outrage to stop that from being in every police freaking arsenal. Like we at some point we have to say, hey, no, I don't care if you got it. That shit's not coming into our house. Like you have to take this topic seriously because weapons are serious and technology is real. Like there are things being done to create destruction with technology. It's not in question at all. So now we have to sift through, okay, is there really satellites in space with laser beams pointing at your house? Like, is that real? No, it's not. Like, no, laser technology is not there. They're not blowing shit up with lasers yet. They are starting to test the limits of this technology, right? Like, I think that's obvious. They show some stuff on Navy vessels, and the videos of them targeting these rockets with lasers are very suspicious. I'll say that much.
Yeah, some of it's a little weird looking.
Is it real? But yeah, I think, if in this arena, like hearing about how they brought down the towers, like a lot of people will never figure out how they did that. Like that's some fucking next level demolition. That's not your average demolition by any stretch of the imagination, right? Like buildings don't end up all over the city when they do this stuff.
Yeah, that's like the I saw a video on the Oklahoma City bomb, and how like there was like 6 or 7 other eyewitnesses that were talking about other bombs that had gone off on other floors, and how like there was like a few retired military ballistic experts that came in and was like, there is no car bomb you could ever make with dang fertilizer that's gonna blow a crater out of a building like that. And then before the bombs went off, somebody called in that multiple bombs had gone off at the building. And it just so happened that like most of the staff wasn't in the building that day. It's just like, hey, I get it's like whatever the 80s or whatever it was, like in communication, 90s, whatever, the communication's not that good. Was it the 80s? I think it was the 80s. But like, it's recorded. People are going to go back and look and go, oh, wait a minute.
Nah, bro.
You blew the building up.
Because in their timeline at the time, I think in their timeline by 2021, everything was going to be like fully locked down. Like Agenda 21 was their thing at the time, right? I don't know if there was another one. I'm sure there was other ones before that, right? Agenda 90 or whatever the fuck it was, but Agenda 21 was like the goal, and by then everything was already CBDC'd out, social credit scored out, eating crickets, you know, fucking just vegged out, VR headset, nutted out, not doing shit. Anti-revolution, done. But you know, shit happens. I think and that timeline has just been skewed. That's why they adjusted, and now you have Agenda 2030, right? And hopefully things will happen, and that'll get adjusted, and they'll have to be like, no, it's Agenda 2045. All right, you just keep fucking kicking the can down the road with these assholes.
Yeah, but that's where the more I agree with just what he's saying. Like you can't. They're testing the waters with the stuff, but we're not necessarily there yet.
Yeah, and I think every event you got to take on its own, right? You were talking about Oklahoma City, and you do the same thing with nukes. You go, let's look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Do we really see anything different here than we do in Tokyo, right? Or is the same method used, right? So taking each event like and hammering down and hammering away at it for a while, that's what I call fun. Like even recent events, you know, like New Year's Day, like we could talk about something more recent too, and just it's always something. Like this realm is conspiracies, so to speak, are going to be relevant all the time because somebody's pulling some bullshit somewhere. All the time.
Yeah, all the time. It never ends. It's like one of the things that I think they're attempting to do at some level is, you know, like there's the whole, you know, we have our Second Amendment rights to defend us against a tyrannical government. But like what is your AR-15 going to do against space lasers? Nothing. What is your AR-15 going to do against drone flyovers that wipe the power out 40 miles? Like what is nothing? Your gun does nothing. If they can just be like, doo-doo-doo, and you're, you know, or they don't even have to do that. What's your AR-15 going to do against no money? You know, if the central banking digital currency or whatever, and they just shut your funds off and no one can transact with you, and they know who's transacting with you. It's like, you can't blast your way to food.
That's why you buy Bitcoin, boys.
You know what I mean? Like it's only going to last but so long. So it's like, I feel like there's like a level of like boogeyman of like, well, don't do that. Government could shut your money off. Don't do that. Government could debank you. Don't do that. Government can drone strike you. It's getting there.
Yeah, I remember the time that I finally realized they got this shit on like lockdown. This is under wraps. They have everything they need to rule the world, right? Like, remember that cartoon, Pinky and the Brain? Pinky asked him, "What are we gonna do tonight?" "We're gonna rule the world, Pinky. What else do we do?" You know, like they got this. They got this all like everywhere you look. There's not only massive
When did you figure that out, bro?
I think probably a little bit after 9/11 when I started understanding the magnitude of that, like how this is the greatest magic trick in history, right? And they pulled it live on TV, and the repercussions, like people saw through it. Like I wasn't the only one that was out there saying this is an inside job, this is bullshit, you know, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't add up, and like a majority of the country knows that something's fishy with 9/11. They know it. Whether they want to admit it or dig into it or put the time to research what the fishy shit really is, that's a different story. But ultimately, half the country hates our president. What are we going to do about it? Like, maybe it's more than half. I don't know. Like, the idea that, you know, their next level control is something you can fear or it's something you can understand, right? Like, from that point on, I'm like, okay, this is a real thing. It does exist. You know, this is really happening in our reality. I can't be in this form of denial where, you know, everything is the way they tell me it is, right? And we got to go get the boogeyman in a cave and terrorists everywhere and all this shit, right?
Yeah. It's
You know,
like
that was
the
like that was like a calling for me. Like, oh, it's not just a one-off. This is a real group of people that is structured, organized, and intelligent. And if you don't want to learn from the best of the best, like these people are put in these positions to pull this shit off because they're really good at what they do, right? Advertising, marketing, strategy, psychology, science, like bullshit across the board.
yeah,
And
they were trying to do a regime change in the Middle East for decades, trying to convince, same like they wanted to do the Gulf of Tonkin. They were just trying to convince, like, hey, let's go to war with Cuba. This would be good. We should go to war. We should go to war. They've been doing this same exact thing, trying to go to war with Iran for so long. I think it was Dave Smith or someone. I was listening to him talk about like all the different times and like these cabinet members or like unelected officials that are like advisors and just constantly being like, we should go to war with Iran. Here's how we can do it. Here's another way. Here's another way. And then finally, they're like, let's fly some planes, dude. Let's get these high, A-list celebrities off the plane first. Let's
This is
move their flights.
the chaos thing, man. The order out of chaos thing, in my opinion, is it's just like they like you said, they've got this dialed in. It's to a point now where it's fucking systematic. They got this shit so dialed in where they just cause endless chaos. I think the chaos just kind of creates itself at this point, right? I don't necessarily think, I was making this argument on Infinite Rabbit Hole the other day. It's like, I don't think that the feds really have to infiltrate these movements so much anymore. They don't have to try so hard to like push for crazy chaos shit to happen because there's enough weirdos out there and there's enough crazies out there and enough dum-dums out there that there's always somebody ready to just do something crazy. All they have to do is just let it happen at this point, right? Maybe small nudges along the way. Like, look at the Governor Whitmore situation. I bring it up all the time now because it's so like, first of all, because it's recent. Second of all, because it's so obvious. I think it was 15 people or whatever it was that were involved in this alleged kidnapping of the governor situation. And it turns out that only 2 of them weren't involved with the FBI, weren't either feds, agents, informants, whatever the case is, right? Only 2 of them weren't. And guess who's in jail?
Couple smooth brains, dude.
A couple smooth. Bro.
This is part of their thing, though, man. This is like, they'll go after these, I don't want to say low IQ, but like people that can't sniff out that it's a Fed. And it's like their playbook is so obvious now, It's so obvious. You just know, you can look at them and you're like, that's a Fed. That's a Fed. When they're sitting there, when they were showing the J6 stuff, happy anniversary.
yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Boys are just trying to have fun, dude. So they're showing the footage and, there's some guy in a bright green coat being like, let's go in. Let's go. Everybody's like, that's Fed. Everybody knew it immediately. And this is, I think, was this before the tiki torches and everybody being like, hey, those are Feds. It was like right around that time or right before it or whatever. It's like obvious, dude. This is the play. Incite. Let it happen. Come on in. And then shoot an unarmed lady in the face. Only casualty. And it's like, yes, there are crazy people that will just go and pop off. But like, are there? Who's the shaman guy who's clearly like retired Air Force or something? Like, there are crazy people, but the stuff that you see, it's like there's crazy people inside that are willing to work with the enemy or willing to, move the enemy's agenda forward. I don't want to say necessarily the enemy, but they're definitely not in my interest. I'm just trying to chill.
I was thinking more about that question. When did you realize it was like under wraps? And it was probably once I figured out the moon landing was fake, which was a little bit after 9/11. I was such a big NASA fanboy, man. Our teacher had like known Krista McCullough, so we had like autograph things going around of her in our school. They rolled in for the first time the TVs and the Challenger event. And TV, some of the best content early on was, when I was a kid, was all space stuff, right? It's like all over my cartoons, and I'm like, they're faking the greatest achievement of mankind, like the greatest achievement of mankind, and they gotta fake that. I'm like, well, why, man, why? Like, it didn't make any
Dude,
sense.
I know, dude, that was such a heartbreaking one for me too.
You know, yeah, that was, and then they did it 6 times. Not just once, but 6 times. Like, what?
Yeah, I think there's like a certain chain of events. I think 9/11 for sure. Once you figure out how the banking system and the debt system works, and how the money's fake. Once you figure that out, you're like, oh shit. The moon landing, you're like, what the fuck? Or the telemetry data was deleted, huh? Right? And then then you start getting into like history, and you start looking at like COINTELPRO, Gulf of Tonkin, Northwoods, right? Like Sea Spray, MK Ultra.
Closed, yeah.
It's just like, what the fuck, man? How can anybody trust any of these people anymore?
Yeah, the things they tell us they did, right? Like, they just straight up say, "Oh yeah, we did MK Ultra. We messed with everybody's brains, and
Bro,
that's real. Oh yeah, we
What's
got a heart attack gun. Oh yeah, we're in the news.
yeah, man. Do you remember the what's the fucking doctor's name that they pulled over here in Paperclip that ran most of those MK Ultra programs? Do you remember his name?
No, I don't
Some
remember
fucking
that name.
German name, I don't know, but
Terrible
he,
name.
Euchenschlagen or whatever the fuck his name is. They bring his ass over here, right? And he's the psychopath that was like injecting fucking mercury into kids and shit over there, right? And then they bring him over here, and then he's the one that's running the MK Ultra programs. I don't know if it was MK Ultra he was running, but he was running like some of the offshoot programs for MK Ultra. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like they all got promotions. Like they all have better jobs coming here.
Dude, those guys, all those paperclip Nazi scientists, dude, all died of old age, okay? And they owned nice houses in nice parts of town. Pisses me off, dude.
What's your foundation on 9/11? Like, I always ask people, because in the conspiracy world, everybody gets to a different layer of the onion, right? Like, how far do you go with it? And it takes, time, and not everybody's going to put that much time into one topic. So I'm curious, like, how far do you guys go with the greatest magic trick on earth? Like, prove to me 9/11 is a hoax or whatever, and then, like, how deep does it go for you?
Damn. Okay. So without having done any recent refreshing, right, on 9/11, I'd give you the nutshell. I would probably have to say, I think that honestly, you know, the inside job thing is too easy. It's too blanket statemented, right? Like inside job. What does that even mean? Right? Inside by who? Who knew that? I think what really happened, like Dr. Judy Wood is probably in directed energy weapons is probably where I land. I'm in that camp, and now whether she's right about them siphoning energy off a hurricane that was parked off the coast of New York at the time and using that energy to dustify the buildings. I don't know. Sounds good. You know, I can see that definitely happening. But I've gotten way too deep down on 9/11. That's the problem too, right? Like there's probably 2 years of my life where I literally thought the planes were holograms.
Okay.
I'm in
Charlie,
this. I'm similar to like. Obviously, this was a ploy to go to war, and I think also some ground testing to see what they could get away with. Right, the weapons of mass destruction is like such a blanket statement, and honestly has nothing to do with flying planes into a building. I think that was like their safety. That was like their, if we're caught, if it comes out somehow that there were actual weapons that were used on the building, it's the weapons of mass destruction. That's what we were talking about. But as long as everybody thinks it's a plane, we'll still use the weapons of mass destruction and we'll head over there. It's a nice, just blanket statement for everything. And they could use surveillance. It's like, why are they Didn't they like take over the plane with like box cutters or something? So why can't I carry my gun still?
Well, yeah, I mean the Patriot Act and all that is definitely like first layer stuff. You know, I try to like parse out where I'm at on the I'm definitely not first layer on most of the conspiracies. Like, yeah, they did this for the Patriot Act. Like, sure.
No,
But
yeah,
just a fucking cherry on top.
it's all like that's the obvious part of it for me. I'm all there on it. Direct energy weapons. I think that either there was something. I don't know if they hit like laser beams or whatever they were doing. There was obviously some sort of projectile that went for Building 7 or the Pentagon. I mean, there's just so many layers to it, and I'm like Jeff. I haven't dove too deep into it, but definitely I can tell you it ain't what the news said.
There was definitely people talking about them doing this and blaming it on Osama bin Laden before it happened, right? Alex Jones is probably the biggest, most recognizable name that I could think of that was doing that beforehand, right?
Yeah, dude.
So, to me, that's a psyop. They were seeding and like prepping. What's the term for this? Help me out.
Priming?
What's the term? Yeah, there's a word for it.
Conditioning.
Fuck, man.
Stop using Bluetooth headphones. You're killing yourself.
predictive programming? Is that what we're
Predictive programming. Thank you, bro.
There we go. This guy uses wired headphones.
Holy shit! I gotta stop with the Bluetooths, man. You're right, dude. Fuck.
This guy's gone athletic greens. He's getting decalcified, and he's got wired headphones. I know what you're on the more. Yeah, definitely predictive programming for sure. I'm 100%. But that's what they do with everything. You get the little bit of something on that document that I was showing earlier, the fiscal budget thing, 2014. Guess what's in there? Rapid testing for viral load. What a coinky dink. What the heck is the Air Force doing researching rapid testing for proteins and all this other, like, okay. Just so happens that 3-4 years later, we have to use that at scale. Come on. What a coinky dink that this didn't happen in the 90s.
Yeah, the more. What do you think about 9/11, man? Tell me what it really is, bro.
All right. Yeah, let's get down to the nuts and bolts. And so, what you guys talked about was the why, right? The idea of why they did it, not necessarily how they did it. I would get into how they did it more than anything else. I wanted to figure out the magic trick, right? I'm a big fan of magic. Siegfried and Roy, David Copperfield. Let's go have a good time, watch some magic. But how does the trick work is really the key to it to me. And so I'll try to infuse a couple questions while I go through the different levels of what I say is the path to discovery, so to speak. I think the most popular documentary on it is Loose Change. It introduces a few concepts. One is Shanksville, right? And the debris missing at Shanksville. Where's the airplane at Shanksville? And the coroner that comes on TV and says, I got nothing to do here. Like, there's no bodies. So that's a big issue, square one. And then you start looking into the Pentagon, and you're like, oh, this is kind of interesting too. I would consider myself like all the way as far as you can go with 9/11. There's nothing you could probably bring up that would surprise me with this story because I've put so much time into it. So the Pentagon, you have some really interesting photographs of because it seems like people were there like really early on taking pictures. So you have some really different stages of that event unfolding in camera. But obviously no video has ever surfaced besides those couple frames from a supposed toll booth or camera or one of those lifting cameras at the Pentagon. So it makes you question a plane again, right? Like, okay, I don't see plane debris here in any of these photographs. What's going on? And so then you're left with, okay, supposedly we have not a single photograph or video of the first plane hitting the first tower, right? There's no photos or videos of that first plane hitting the first tower.
I thought there was one. Isn't there one?
I want to
Video?
say they have released some in the last decade.
Okay,
But the first
yeah.
decade, there wasn't any.
Fair enough.
Like,
Yeah, the
you know,
deep fakes. Yeah, I'm with you.
supposedly, you know, I look at just the videos of the planes hitting the towers now, and they've come up with new videos of the plane hitting the tower. And I was like, these never existed before. What is this? And I was like, okay. Anyway, getting back to the planes issue, so where do you land with that? Like, either they used commercial airliners or they didn't, right? Like, you can't have plane crashes having missing planes and not question the last one just because you saw it on TV. Because we see a lot of fake shit on TV, right? So when you question that one, it really gets into what you can prove. Now, here's where the science comes in, right? The idea that how are we going to actually prove something in this scenario? And that comes with the density of materials, how airplanes are made, and how steel buildings of 110 stories are made.
Yeah.
An airplane is made like a flying beer can. It's made to expand and contract, pressurize, go through different temperatures, right? So it's going to expand and contract a lot. That means it's a soft metal. What is steel? Steel allows you to build skyscrapers 110 stories high. It is man-made. It doesn't exist in nature. We have to craft this stuff. Why? To make it strong enough. So this is like understanding that diamonds only cut diamonds, right? Aluminum airplanes don't go through steel. They don't. It's never going to happen. It never has happened. It can never happen. So once you understand that, the physics, the reality of the real world, they're showing you something that's physically impossible to happen there. So then you're like, oh shit, that means there was no hijackers, and they faked all these phone calls on airplanes, and they faked all the, like, the fakery starts to add up really fast once you look at Shanksville, because there's no freaking plane there, man. And if they're faking those hijackers and those people, and then you go to Pentagon, you're like, there's no plane there, and they're faking those terrorists and those people. What's going
But
on
not
here?
the towers. I
Not
see
the
what you're saying.
But so all of a sudden they're faking death, but they're not faking death at the towers. Is that what you're saying? Is that where we're going with this? So it starts to build, right? Like, okay, what can we prove about the towers? We can prove they're controlled demolition. Why? How? Because they fell at freaking free fall speed. Every rivet,
Yeah.
every weld, every structural element of the building failed at the same time or sequentially. Like, you cannot get 110 stories to the ground in 10 seconds, bro. Like, does anybody understand that? Like, it's,
Yeah, architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth figured that one out.
Yeah.
It's just so obvious. You're like, okay.
There's
shit.
tons of videos of things going off and hitting towers, buildings and stuff, and the top will fall and the rest of it will still be there. You know, like a huge
never hit
chunk
the
of a
ground.
building will fall over. Not like a, come on.
Like blown out 4x4 all the way down.
Yeah.
And
What do you,
And then you brought
know-
up Judy Wood, and Judy Wood's heavy. Obviously, she blew my mind when she did the bowling ball or the pinball, billiard ball example of just dropping it and the next person dropping it and taking a minute and 45 seconds with zero resistance. So the building theoretically should have at least taken a minute and a half to hit the ground with zero resistance. You know, like, that's incredible to
Yeah.
think about what they actually did there. I mean, none of it actually fell.
Dustified. She uses the term dustified, which I like.
Yeah, well, the idea is like if you put anything you drop from the towers wouldn't hit the ground faster than this building disappeared. Like I don't care what you drop off that side of that building, it wouldn't have hit the ground as fast as those buildings disappeared. That's insane.
That
Like
is.
it's in, it blows your mind to okay, so they blew up the buildings, right? Without doubt, they blew up the buildings. Now Judy Wood comes in and she introduces all these photographs, and she had more photographs than anybody of Ground Zero and the day of, and you're like, holy shit, man.
Was she the one that brought the 45-degree angle like thermite cuts?
I think that was more Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones,
Stephen
the
Jones.
BYU professor.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the one of the thermate kind of guy.
Right.
And talking about how it was in the dust and showing you some of the shape charged aspects. Um, yeah,
That's interesting shit too. In the dust, like the micro signatures of the thermite in the dust. That's interesting.
yeah, and I think there's some very strong evidence that that was part of it, especially when you look at the big gash in the side of the building and you see that they're all the steel there is like a horizontal cut perfectly, like every piece of steel that is missing from the airplane hole is at a perfect horizontal cut. It's
So
like, oh, wow, that's
hold on.
interesting.
So what do you think, man? And I know I'm kind of like rushing I'm not rushing you honestly, but
Yeah, well, let's go.
are you kind of suggesting that like no planes hit the towers? They had them rigged with whatever, but they also had like thermite tracked. So was it like a hologram? Because again, I've been into the hologram thing.
Nothing,
You thinking
just
hologram planes? No,
just nothing.
just
There
nothing.
was nothing in the air at all. There was nothing in the sky. So one of the things I looked for was photographs of the airplane. Like everybody was already taking pictures of the first building on fire. They had cameras in hand. They were on the scene. And you got this big airplane flying in. No one's putting their camera and focusing on it. All you have is a handful of videos. I think it's like 4 videos from the original day of an airplane hitting that tower. People think there's like a ton of videos. Well, now there is. They've added a bunch. But the original 4, maybe 5, I'll give you. That's it. There is no button. There's no photograph. Not one single photograph of an airplane that day. And they got the towers on explosion, like just as they're exploding. And these beautiful pictures. Guy's already looking up at the top of the building. He's ready to snap away. And not even the tail section of the airplane in the shot, but the building's already exploding.
It is
Oh,
odd.
dude, I never even thought about that, honestly, man. Everybody's sitting there looking at it. You got super high, like, rapid shutter planes or rapid shutter, freaking cameras and stuff. You got all the other high rises around that are watching this happen, and 0 people catch a picture of like stop motion plane goes in. Fish.
Thing's already on fire next to it. People are already looking up.
Yeah, what else are you taking pictures of?
You just said the magic thing too. There's other high rises and there's no videos from those high rises. They're all from the ground.
Or the helicopter, yeah. The one helicopter.
Yeah, anything. A news helicopter. I mean, they had, you know what I mean?
See, I'm with this, man. See, I've heard, there was no planes, right? But like, I got into hologram planes for a while when I was doing like deep Project Bluebeam research, and I was like really looking into holograms and like what they can do. And there's, I don't know if people realize this, but there is hologram technology now that you and I can buy. This is consumer technology that creates holograms that you can feel. So in the example in their ad is there's a butterfly. It's in this little box and it's a little marble and this tiny little, it's like a bead really. This little bead vibrates in there and there's speakers all around this box and the vibrations make this bead do whatever you want, right? Like it makes it make a butterfly in this video. And the butterfly is flapping its wings and it looks super realistic. It's like 3-dimensional, like the camera's looking around, like you could see all angles of it because it's this bead moving at super high speeds, creating this visual effect. But the craziest thing is the guy is like, you can feel the wind from the wings of the butterfly fluttering. Because that bead is moving through air, it's creating this draft, the same as if the actual butterfly. So I started to think like, holy shit, with holograms, you know, you would actually be able to see, feel, and hear them, not just see them like you would think in a movie or something. So like they could be using holographic planes, and people on the ground would actually like hear, see it, and maybe even feel that low frequency vibration of a plane being like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like,
that grumble, just
right.
and
So
just
Roar.
yeah, so I always got into that theory, but I never really considered like no planes.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of people won't make it that far. That's a tough one to swallow. But I think you have to question all of it when you start looking at the different sites, right? Not just the towers, but Shanksville and Pentagon. You're left with scratching your head looking for airplane parts or
Now,
people or luggage or anything.
I will play devil's advocate because Infinite Rabbit Hole, I don't remember if it was Jake or Jeremy or both, said that they had been in the Navy with somebody, I think, and that person was like at the Pentagon. It had actually like pulled plane parts out of the Pentagon or something. I don't remember if it was them. So if they listen to this and they're like, "That wasn't me, you dickhead," my bad,
Oh,
bros, but somebody did.
yeah, there's a lot of people with claims that they're running out of the building. So, we'll go even one step further. What about the falling man or the jumpers? Do we think this is real? Do you think we actually blew these buildings up with people inside them? You think they're that evil? Why why would you
yes,
let anybody inside a
yes.
building that
Yeah,
you're
I think they would.
blowing
I
up?
think I think they're that evil. Yeah,
I think they would.
absolutely. They were trying to shoot down a 747 full of people. I think they would absolutely do
I
that.
think they would.
I think they sunk the Titanic on purpose. I will 100%
Okay.
believe.
But now you're creating martyrs. You're creating people that can sue your ass. This is like liability. You're creating liability for yourself when you do that. It's not intelligent to kill people. It just makes zero sense whatsoever. You're putting a lot of risk, unnecessary risk onto the table. So I get that we want to think that they're just randomly killing everybody because of the recent Rona thing too. I think a lot of people would say, "Oh yeah, government's out to kill you." Once again, here we go. These kinds of ideas that they're actively trying to kill us. They're citizens, the ones that they spent all this money putting in controlling their minds and lying to. Like they got you right where they want you. They're not going to kill you. You're an asset. you know, like you help them do what they do because
Yeah,
you're
that's true. I mean, they did do like Tuskegee syphilis experiment, give a whole bunch of people syphilis.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that there hasn't been crazy
I'm not just
stuff.
saying that the government has been known to say, hey, you know what?
We can look at the foundation of this country, or how they treated the Japanese during World War II. Like just took all their shit. They just put them all in camps and took all their shit. California is littered with Asians, right? You didn't even have to be Japanese. They just said, "Oh, you look Japanese. We're taking your shit. We're sending you to the desert." Took
Yeah.
their took their house, took their cars, took all their possessions. They could only carry whatever they could carry is all they could take with them. No bank accounts. Like this is nuts. What the government's capable of. I get it. I remember the big scare about all the freaking camps that were coming up. Like right after 9/11, they started popping up all these camps. Look at this FEMA camp, FEMA camp, FEMA camp, FEMA camp. Who are you putting in there?
Yeah, the
Americans?
coffins. I remember the coffins and
Americans.
all that.
So yeah, questioning if anybody died in the event, I think is relevant because it's really important to remove the fear, for one thing, and the emotional attachment to any of these events. If you're going to get serious about this research, you can't go in with a heart aching for people and think clearly. Like you're always going to be in a biased mode if you're emotional. That's going to change your approach to research and investigation and doing it like a Sherlock Holmes, right? Like you can't care about these things and make it so personal. Like if it's that personal, pick another event, do something else. There's plenty of these events. I get it when it comes to 9/11 and people having family members. Or, oh, I know somebody who knows somebody who died in that. Oh, I know somebody who knows somebody who saw a plane. I know somebody that was there who saw a plane. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it, right? Like that narrative is everywhere. I know somebody that ran from the 101st floor. I know people that were stuck in the rubble. Like the stories are endless when it comes to this event. People making a lot of money selling their stories when it comes to this event.
Yeah, a ton of money. A ton. And this is, you get the same kind of like mass. You get the same kind of well, here's the other thing too. It's like, yes, you have people that make certain claims that are like, write down exactly what the news cycle said. But then there's a lot of other eyewitness claims of the day that are like, I heard bombs go off.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, who's talking to that guy?
Why
Get
Tom
him on the
Brokaw-
horn.
Why Tom Brokaw say that looks like a controlled demolition?
Yeah.
Why did he say that? Oh, he got anthrax. That's right. I forgot about that.
What?
You guys know about the anthrax?
I mean, I
No.
remember anthrax, but I was a kid, man, so I don't
Oh,
really.
shit, dude.
I don't know you know, that's a good one. Nobody's ever really talked about the anthrax, bro. Please blow my fucking
He got
mind.
anthraxed?
Okay, so anthrax was about a year or less after 9/11. So anthrax is it's a toxin, right? It's a poison. It'll kill you. And in small doses in powder form, right?
It's like the old fentanyl, but worse.
Yeah. And it can be
OG fan, dude.
like just supposedly it's military grade. So we know that much. But it was sent to some very interesting people. The two that pop out are Tom Brokaw, who gets this letter, right? And they have to shut down the mail system. And, the U.S. Post Office is shutting things down and don't open suspicious packages, kind of shit is all going on. And the other one was the reporter that took the picture of the Bush's daughters kissing each other. You like that one?
Bro, I do not remember any of this. This is so funny, dude.
This is the only terror attack on U.S. soil that has not been solved. No one's been ever blamed for it. It's the only one that's never been solved. Anthrax.
Bro, am I gonna have to go deep on the anthrax thing, bro? You're about to fuck me up, dude, for like 3 months, man. This is not okay.
It's a great story. Like, whether you believe it or not, the targets within the packages for the anthrax make for like, why this guy, like, why why, like, how are they, why are the terrorists going after Tom Brokaw? Like, what, or some reporter in Florida, that's what he was. He was a reporter, for the.
And wait, what was he breaking? Was his
He
story?
took a photograph of the Bush daughters kissing each other.
And the other one?
Ew.
What?
And the other guy?
Tom Brokaw,
Yeah.
the reporter.
Yeah.
He's the one that said, this looks like controlled demolition
Oh, yeah, that's right.
on 9/11.
That's right. Fucking asshole. Why'd you say that, bro? Jesus, you can't say that.
So yeah, I guess the last layer to the 9/11 onion is really the how part is what Judy Wood shows us with the rubble that's left, and the fact that the rubble doesn't even go 1 or 2 stories high, maybe 3 stories high when it comes to what's left of the buildings that day, like photographs that night of what's left. And you look at it and you're like, where did the steel go?
You know what the
Where'd it
problem
go?
is?
Where did the building go?
There should be a whole building worth of.
They were
110
dustifying, bro.
stories. They had 6-foot wide steel beams, bro, like 6
Two of 'em.
inches thick, like 110 stories. I don't know if you've ever seen
Two
the
of 'em.
construction of the towers, but they show like the detail of the core columns. Like the center part of the building is like built like a tank, like just a fortress of steel, right, to hold these things up. And they call them box columns, and there's like layers of these massive core columns, maybe 6 by 6. You got to remember, each floor was like half of a football field worth of area. I mean, each space was massive. So the amount of steel that the core columns had was massive. And you go, where'd that whole core column go? There's none of it left. There's none of it on ground zero. You look at the rubble pipe. Find me 110 stories of one of the box columns that was in the core of the towers. It doesn't exist. You're like, what the hell? dude, how do you do that? How do you get 110 stories worth of a football field worth of freaking steel to
Two of them.
not be on the ground?
So then where did it all go?
I got to okay, I just want to say it real quick. I'm sorry, guys. For anybody who's watching on X, for some reason your chats don't feed through to Riverside. Fix your shit, Riverside. But I do have a comment here I want to ask. It says, "What if they prepped it with a chemical acid to upset the building integrity?"
Okay, I'm
That's
with
a
the
lot of
thermite.
acid.
That is a lot of acid. Well,
It's a lot of thermite.
the thermite, right? The idea that we're cutting core columns and we're doing multiple types of explosions here, not just one type of a explosion. Yeah, I'm with that, but it doesn't make the steel disappear, right? You can ruin the structural integrity of this building, but the building still has to end up on the ground, bro. Like, however you slice and dice that, there's too much missing. 98% of the material that was supposedly those buildings were constructed out of is gone.
Dustified, bro.
It's like, what? The only way to accomplish this is to gut the building. You went in there and you gutted that thing. You took all that steel out beforehand. There's no other way. I don't care what kind of explosive you use. Steel does not dustify. It doesn't disintegrate. That's not real science. You cannot make steel disintegrate. I'm sorry. That's science fiction.
There's got to be a resonant frequency that fucking breaks apart steel on a molecular level, like
Yeah.
dustifies it.
But like, how do you center it on just that building? Unless they had like some frequency, like contact with the actual steel, like you're physically vibrating it. But if it's across airwaves,
I
that's
don't
going
know.
to
I'm just
affect
trying
more
to
than just.
bridge. I'm trying to bridge what he's saying with
Yeah.
my current belief, I guess, which is a sketchy word for me, but of like directed energy weapon.
Yeah.
You know,
An explanation other than what I'm saying. I got you. Like, what are the other
it's
options?
not that. No, I'm with you. I'm
We
hearing
have to think
that.
about this in a broad way. Like, okay, I explained the scenario.
Yeah.
Maybe there are multiple ways to accomplish this. What are the other ways? And you're saying we have to have something that makes shit turn into dust.
I'm
That's
not.
the only way.
Okay, well,
Right.
here's my
If you could,
problem.
if you could if you could get rid of the metal and the building still stay up for even a short amount of time, then you just, boom, it's down.
My only question is just like, how do they gut the building without anybody like noticing? I guess, or did people notice and we just don't know about it, or
Well,
am I just missing something?
you got underground access to that. The subway's right underneath there. You got all kinds of ways you can get it out. So the Die Hard series, like you were talking about predictive programming, is actually about 9/11 too. If you look at the themes of the movie, the Nakatomi Tower, and then you're in airplanes, and then you're in New York, and the New York in the gold, and they cause a distraction. And what do they chase all those dump trucks? What's in the back of all those dump trucks? Steel. Steel's in the back of all those dump trucks. Right?
Whoa.
Flying the dump trucks and he blows it up in the river. It's all steel, right? Like they got the gold out, right? They got the money out. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, as far as how this can be accomplished, I've never seen any frequencies disintegrate anything, or I'd be game to play with that idea.
I'm hearing you because I haven't either. Right, it's the same thing for nukes for me. I have never seen it happen. I have seen some cool cymatic shit, right, moving sand around with vibrations and stuff like that.
Oh,
so.
even what you were describing with the hologram. Yeah, that's some cool shit too.
Yeah, like there's, so that goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like, where do we draw that line on like what do we actually think they can do, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy to just like strip the building of its core foundation in a night or two and then sink it.
It wouldn't have to be in a night or two. I mean, how long would you think it would have taken them more? Like, what's your thought on that?
Okay, so this goes back into the history of the buildings and what they were actually used for, right? So we got some interesting history to the buildings too. The buildings were actually built by an employee of the Bin Laden Corporation, ironically a Japanese man who actually designed the buildings after Mecca. Ironic because Muslim terrorists decided to blow up Mecca, right? So from the beginning, I feel that these buildings come under suspicion because they're government buildings. The Port Authority of New York owned these buildings from when they were built until supposedly a few months up until that point, right? So what are government buildings usually used for? Like utilities, maybe, right? Maybe
Yeah.
maybe communications, military, government, communication.
Huh.
So there's a lot of photos and a lot of video of these towers being hollow from the get-go, meaning a majority or 90% of the floors, I would say, never had any occupants in them. So 90 out of 110, let's say, never had any bathrooms built, never had any walls built, never had any equipment for any of that
It's
shit.
the fucking Truman Show, dude.
I believe these towers were built strictly to empower the grid and communications. So they're drawing atmospheric electricity in through the buildings and just using repeaters and ductors to pass it out through the city.
This fucking
Free,
guy.
the free energy grid is already here, guys. Like that's
This
not new.
fucking guy, bro. Do you have like videos or presentations or slides or something?
Hey, put them together. Let's go. I'll bring the words. So no, I've never gotten into presenting the information in that way. Besides, like my boys, I save pictures and stuff like this of different things that I find as I go, and I got a lot of links that I can share with you of different interesting things along the way. But no, I've thought about putting together some, like, who's really done a really like 9/11 documentary talking about the things I just talked about. Anybody? Is it out there? Like, I don't know. There's a few people doing the work. Don't get me wrong, but there's a different ways to approach it, right? And if you do all the homework, you get through all the layers. It's like, holy shit, how did I get here? And now I dare you to go tell people that nobody died on 9/11. Go try that one on for size.
I don't want to get punched in the face.
15 years ago, I was the crazy guy for saying no planes, and now I'm like, fuck it, just tell them no. They'll lose their shit.
I mean, listen,
Everybody will lose their shit. You
I'm
want to
not
fuck
gonna-
with people, just go tell them no planes. They'll act like monkeys. They'll rage. Their heads will literally explode sometimes. Like the amount of reactions you'll get from that, just saying that is epic. And you're like, whatever, like, go ahead.
I mean,
man. See, I can get into this, bro. I can get into that. I can definitely get down that rabbit hole and get lost in there for sure. See, my problem is, man, I'll hear something cool like what you just said to me, right? Like the whole theory, right? And I'll be like, what? And then I'll spend a considerable amount of time, or at least what I think is considerable, on that thing. And then by the end of it, I always come back to like everything's a fucking psyop. I'm just too black pilled, right? So I get like a quarter of the way down the road for everything, and never all the way down the road for anything.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
I think that's a tactic, though. I think it's important for us to try to understand the breadth of it too. And if you're not like trying to absorb all the information before you come to any conclusions, I think that's important too, right? That's a big step in the process, just to hear different takes and be open to different takes, and say, okay, I've heard that, and if I'm going to do my research now, I've heard so many different takes, I can go verify these takes as okay, that one actually fits what I'm looking at right now, right? Like if I told you, okay, nobody died in New Orleans, now you're going to look for that when you go look, right? Like you never see the truck hit anyone in any of the footage. Now you're going to go look for that, right? Like, and verify whether or not that is accurate. So it's always hard to find inspiration, like to do the extra homework, I guess. You have to be in a good place in your life to make that time. But I find it fun. I like being a detective kind of thing. Like, well, you want to talk about the Ukraine war and how fake that shit is? Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the pros and cons of like the show, for instance. I was deep down the rabbit hole way before starting the show, like 5 years ago or whatever it was now. But the problem is that every week you feel beholden to like the listener to a certain extent, where it's like, listen, man, I feel like I gotta put something out because there are people that listen to this shit, right? So it's like, then you're like in this vicious cycle of like, who's the next person I can get on? What can they give me as far as information? And then like, I only got so much time to like go deep down the rabbit hole before the next person I'm talking to. Now lately, it's just been me and Creamer just firing back and forth with no guests really, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like I get a lot of other information, right? Like I come across a lot of stuff that I never really heard before. I'm running into a lot of people, and like the networking thing is always cool. So it's like, you know,
Well,
Bro, I did what you were saying before like triggered me to do a little clicking around. Who owns the port authority owning the trade towers?
yeah.
They sold them right before they got destroyed.
Yeah. Just in time.
Right before they got destroyed.
Just in time to get insurance on the buildings. And
Huh.
instead of one policy, he got two, one for each tower. And Silverstein made out like a bandit. Like that money was big money from insurance. I would say that that is a major contributor to the 2008 financial crisis, with AIG and insurance companies really feeling the heat. Uh, there's sort of a domino effect when it comes to pulling these scams. If you're going to be really ripping off, insurance fraud that high, I don't know if it got paid out or not. I don't know. Like maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Uh, but the money's there to rebuild the program. Like either way, like they got their new tower. So, you know, it's a wild world. So one thing, Jeff, that I would say as far as finding a way to do your research that is time like appropriate, right? Like that was a big thing for me. I was like, shit, man, I'm putting all this time into the lies, right? All these stories, all these fabrications. Like I don't give a shit if people did this or didn't do this, or they died or they didn't. Like chasing those stories was one part of conspiracies, right? Like I'm looking for Bigfoot, I'm looking for UFOs, I'm looking for aliens, whatever that cryptids, whatever the new thing is, right? Versus, story versus actually like finding the truth, right? And you really have to break it down to doing a method of science that says, okay, like with 9/11, I remember saying to my buddy, I said, bro, he was with me with the 9/11 journey. He lived with me when I put like 2 years of my life into the thing. So we shared all the videos together and whatever. I said, bro, when did conspiracies turn from, conspiracy theories into a hunt for the truth? He said, 8 to 12 seconds. And I knew right away he was talking about the speed of the towers vanishing. Like, you cannot invent it. Like, you can't, right? Like, if you can have a foundation of science and know in the physical, real world that's impossible, they're showing me a magic trick, it's not real. I understand the trick. Then you can build off of that, right? Like, you can find a way to analyze every scenario in a way that I'm looking for the truth. I'm not looking at the lie. Like somebody brings up the Cybertruck. Are you really going to waste your time with the guy's fucking, you know, memorandum or death confession? It's like, why? How am I going to verify that
Yeah.
in any way whatsoever? Like, it's my waste of my time to even read the thing.
you
I'd
guys
rather
heard
look
my
at the
thoughts on
photos.
that, man. That shit's a psyop.
Show me the photos, show me the video, like, show me the proof. I want to see the proof.
I think you're right, man. You know what? Yeah, you're right, man. Because like I feel like at this point in my conspiracy journey, like I'm aware enough to know bullshit when I see it, but it's like getting to the truth, right? Like that's the thing. Like I don't know the truth. That's why I'm always like quoting that belief is the enemy of knowing, right? Because it's like I don't believe anything, bro. So you're right. I should find something and get to the bottom of it so I can at least believe that thing that I found or whatever, right?
Yeah, and I think where you're at is part of the natural progression or journey. Like, I think everybody goes in a place where they're just not sure anymore. They're like, holy shit, this is just chaos. I know I'm being lied to a ton. I'm not really looking into all these lies, but I know I'm being saturated with it. I don't know where to go with this, right? Like, it is, it becomes like you're lost. You're in no man's land. You don't have a foundation of reality anymore that you can like, yeah, I know what that is. I know what that is. I know that's bullshit as soon as I see it, and here's how they did it. And getting those skills in order to do that. Like, we can talk about the Vegas event. I say nobody died in the Vegas event, not a single soul, right? What's your proof that somebody died? That's all I got to ask, right? I put the burden of proof on you because everything I look at, all the video I look at, I don't see anybody dead. I see all bullshit. Like, nobody's dead. What are you talking about? I see people pretending, acting, but nah, like, give me a break. So
Yeah, I see a pallet of firearms on a somehow got up a
for me,
bunch of floors of a building.
for me, looking at the premise, right? The premise is the idea that people died at some event. Okay, let's question the premise. If there's enough evidence for the premise to exist, like train derailed. Okay, yes, a train derailed. Were there people on board? We can go from there, right? Like, yes, this actually took place. Buildings on 9/11 did do what they did. Something happened with the towers, right? Something happened with World Trade Center 7. What is it? Okay, now we have somewhere to go, right? We have something that we can actually digest and go, let's look at what these things actually did. They turned to dust and ended up all over the city. Like, concrete does that, but steel doesn't do that.
Still don't do that.
I got chats in X right now that are like, yo, this guy's like reading my mind.
Nice.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, dude, we first of all, I just want to say my mind's a little bit blown because like you've brought some shit to me that like I just never really thought about and considered, and you've presented it well enough to me to where I'm like, okay, I might actually like go look at this. So that's awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah. For
Um,
I was just a little tight when this happened, so everything I'm looking at is kind of like retrospect and like off my memory. I've not done a huge dive into 9/11, but I just automatically dismiss the mainstream narrative. I go, that's a load. There's something else. I didn't know about like the structure of it and stuff. Now I'm curious. I'm a curious little kitten.
yeah, this guy will find the blueprints or some shit online. Watch, he's gonna. Or you probably spent years looking at this, but watch, this dude will come next week and be like, I found
The
a fucking
bloops, dude.
blueprint of floor 74, which doesn't exist, like something, right? So, yeah, man.
Appreciate you coming on, dude. That was
Yeah.
awesome. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me, guys.
Yeah, are you coming on Infinite Rabbit Hole tomorrow, bro?
He said the 12th, so I think it's
Or not tomorrow? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't even-
know, guys.
I don't even
Get the Bluetooth headphones out, bro.
I don't even know what fucking day it is anymore, dude. Like that's how. Okay.
Get the cranberry juice out, dude.
Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna go get some cranberry juice.
Get decalcified real quick, man.
No, but dude, seriously, thanks. Is there anything that you want to? I know you said you don't like make content about this kind of stuff. You probably should, bro. To be honest with you, you should probably put together some videos or something. I don't know if you care about the clout, the internet clout about that, but it would be good for the internet, right? To have some videos on some deep shit. I
I think
think.
that's why I'm on here, right? Like, I'm not afraid to get out there and talk to people about these topics, share them on different platforms all the time. I think this is the way to do it. I don't. Everybody's gonna have to do their own homework one way or the other, and I'm with you as far as showing how I see things. I get that, and I try to go through that with people individually because I think it's more impactful than just taking my time to put the content. And that's a little bit more of a commitment that I'm not ready at this stage to make in my life. But yeah, as far as understanding, I got a deep bag. I've been at this a long time. I'm fortunate to have had more time than other people. Not a so-called 9-to-5 job where I had to commit to other priorities. I don't have any kids, and I'm 48 years old. So as far as my time, I've put it towards this, and I do want to share it with people that are interested, curious, and trying to figure this stuff out for themselves. And that's really the key, right? Like, finding people like you. You guys are going to dedicated, committed to talking about this stuff and just putting it on the table. Let's hear what people have to say about it. And I'm dedicated to helping people like you guys. Hey, let's see how much how serious they are about what they do, what they're interested in, and what they think about. you know, and everybody's different, you know, like what inspires them. So, you know, sometimes it's just fireballing topics or whatever. But
Yeah,
man,
dude.
I
Well, we appreciate it, dude. And keep doing your rounds, man. Put the word out there.
anytime I see you guys, I'll find you, no doubt.
Tight stuff, dude.
No, that's cool, man. Hell yeah. Well, for anybody watching everywhere, I don't even remember where we're streaming. We're streaming at like 12 different places right now, so that's cool and all. But oh, did he dip?
I don't know.
Oh, he must have
I might have lost him right at the end.
might have lost him right at the end. Yeah, shout out to everybody who's listening. We'll catch you on the next one, man.
Bye.
Deuces.